Hello guys and welcome back. So now in this lecture we will be working on our car controller script. For that, open up the car controller script, and right here at the top we're gonna add three packages, which will be system, then system.collection.generic, and then system.collections. After that, inside the car controller main class we're gonna remove the start and update method, and at the top we're gonna create a public enum by the name of control mode. Alright, and in here we're gonna add two options. The first one will be the keyboard, and then the second one will be buttons. And let me tell you that this enum define how the car can be controlled via a keyboard or mobile buttons. Then let's go ahead and create another enum. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste it. Change this enum name now to Excel. The first one will be front, and then the second one will be rear. And now this enum will define which axle, front or rear, the wheel belongs to. Alright, after this we're gonna define a structure to group wheel models and its colliders. So in order to do that, right here we will add serializable, then we would say public struct, name this as wheel, and in here we're gonna create a public game object reference to our wheel model. Okay, this will be the 3D model of the wheel. Then the next one will be to the wheel collider. Alright, so as you know, the component name is wheel collider, and we're gonna name this as wheel collider as well. After this, we will be telling that which axle it is. Okay, we will specify whether the wheel is on the front or the rear axle. After this, we will say public control mode, name this as control. Right here we will select the control mode, which is either keyboard or buttons. After that, let's set the maximum acceleration and brake force for our vehicle or car. So create a float by the name of maximum acceleration. By default, let's set this to 20. Then create another public float by the name of brake acceleration, which will be by default equals to 200,000. Okay, then let's create variables for our car steering. So we will say public float. Let's name this as trunk sensitivity. The trunk sensitivity for this car will be 1.2. Then we will also add the maximum steer angle, which will be equals to 30 by default. Okay, so this is the sensitivity and limit for the steering angle. Now, after this, we will create a public vector3. Okay, let's name this as center of mass, and inside this vector3, which is by the name of center of mass, in here we will make adjustment to improve our car stability. After this, let's create a list of type wheel, name it as wheels. In here, this is the list of all wheels, front and rear, which with their models and colliders. Okay, In this list, we're gonna add all of the wheels with their model and colliders. After this, we need variables to capture the input values either from the keyboard or from the mobile buttons. So for that, we will create a float by the name of move input and then another float by the name of steer input. Alright, and then we need a reference to our rigid body. Let's make this a private, then a rigid body, and then we can name this as car rigid body. Okay, now in the start method, let's first of all initialize the rigid body. So car RB will be equals to get component rigid body. Okay, then we need to set up the car rigid body center of mass to our variable, which is center of mass. So right here we will say car rigid body dot center of mass will be equals to the center of mass vector 3. So in the start method, we initialize the rigid body and adjust the center of mass. After this, now let's go ahead and create a function to set the movement input externally. Okay, for that, we will create a method by the name of move input. Okay, this will take a float as a parameter, name this as input. Then in here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the move input, which is this float right here, and set it equals to the input. Okay, then after this we will create another method. Let me just copy this and paste it down below. This time change its name from move input to steer input, and right here instead of the move input we will call the steer input float, which we created up there. So now we are storing the inputs inside our move input and steer input floats. So once we store the inputs, now we will get that inputs, and then according to that inputs we will move our car in the horizontal, which is the left right direction, and in the vertical, which is the forward and backward direction. On simple words, you can say now that we will use that inputs to move our car. Okay, so in order to do that, create a method by the name of get inputs. All right, and in here we're gonna say, first of all, we're gonna check that if we are on the keyboard. So if the control mode is equals to keyboard, okay, then in this case what we're gonna do, we're gonna first of all move the car forward and backward. So in order to do that, the move input will be equals to input dot get axis, and we will get the vertical. Alright, this will move the car forward backward. And now for the left and right, we can say steer input equals to input dot get axis, and this time we're gonna get the horizontal axis, which is the left and right. Okay, so now using the WS key or the up and down arrow key, we will move the car forward and backward, and using the A and D or the left or right arrow, we will steer our car to the left or right side. Okay, so once we have that input set up for the movement, then we can apply movement to the wheels. okay, in order to move the car. So for that we're gonna create a separate method now by the name of move, and in here we will create a for each variable, and then we're gonna say for each wheel in the wheels list right here, to every wheel we're gonna add movement, okay. So right here we will say wheel dot wheel collider dot motor torque will be equals to the move input, multiply that by 600, and then multiply that by the max acceleration, and then we will multiply that by time dot delta time. So in here what this line means is that the motor torque is proportional to the input, the max acceleration, and the delta time, okay. Now this will add movement to our car, okay. And now in order to check that if the car moves using this code or not, we're gonna test that movement. So for that, right here after the start method, we're gonna create an update method in which we will call the get inputs method, and then create a late update method in which we're gonna call the move method like this, okay. Then you can go ahead and save the script. Once you save it, get back right here in the car controller script. Now as you can see, we have all of these options. We can select the controls. For now we're gonna select keyboard because we don't have any mobile controls, okay. You can leave the max acceleration, brake acceleration, front sensitivity, and the max steer angle as it is. Right here in the center of mass, make the y value as -1, okay. Now in these wheels we need to add 4 wheels, so let's add 4 wheels in here, okay. It will add these 4 elements like this. You can then open it up, all of these 4 elements, okay. Let me select the car back again, okay, here we are. So once you add 4 wheels, now as you can see, it needs the wheel model, the wheel collider, and the axle. So for this, what we're gonna do, we're gonna open up the wheels game object right here, then open up the meshes and the colliders. Select the car back again. Right here in the model, we're gonna drag and drop the front left wheel, which is the mesh, okay. So drag and drop that. Then for the collider, in the collider game object, drag and drop the front left wheel collider, okay. Since we add front left wheel model, we need to add the front left wheel collider, and since this is the front left, so the axle will be front, okay. Then we can do the same for the front right. Add the front right collider as well. This is a front axle. Then we have the rear left, so add the rear left collider as well and change the axle to rear. Then we have the rear right and the rear right collider and change the axle to rear, okay. Once you do this, as you can see in this scene view, we can't see our car fully, so let me select the camera and let's rotate it like this a little bit so that we can see our car, and move the camera like a little bit on the left side, okay, so that the car is in the middle. Now we can select the car and let's play the game. Okay, so when the game starts, as you can see, the car doesn't move. If you click on the scene view, as you can see, the car wheels are stuck inside the ground, okay. So if you select the car and move the car a little bit up, now as you can see, the wheels and everything is on the ground, Okay, now if you press the W key, as you can see, the car start moving fast. Okay, for now we can't brake or turn left and right, we can only move forward, and if you press the S key, the car will start moving backwards, as you can see. And if you press the W key, you will notice that the car will then move forward, as you can see. So our forward and backward movement works perfectly fine. In the next video, we're gonna add steering and also braking to our car. So see you guys in the next one.